G'day C3 parents, I'm your coach Karien Pitout and welcome to another conversation. Today we are going to talk about sleep regression. We are going to look at what's the difference between night terrors and nightmares and how do we handle the sleep regression and how do we help our children to get back to what a semblance of normal sleep, because let's be honest, no child really sleeps the way that we as adults would prefer them to sleep. Let's dive right into the conversation. What is a sleep regression? Basically, sleep regression is when our children has built up a specific type of sleep cycle or sleep pattern and they change it up, or where they are struggling to remain asleep when they are still in light sleep. Sleep regression actually does happen when our children are going through a developmental leap where their brain is literally almost like everything that it's been learning throughout this time period, it's consolidating the knowledge. The brain is checking its pathways. It is going through a consolidation process. During consolidation processes, children are acutely aware that they are more vulnerable because it's almost as if they're not really paying that much attention to the rest of the world. Some of the leaps or some of the discoveries that they make might scare them and they will need parental closeness or caregiver closeness more often than not. Sleep regression often coincides with separation anxiety. So when your child is behaving extra clingy, more than normal, expect to see a sleep regression. Another time period that you may see sleep regression or a change in sleep pattern will be during a growth spurt, where especially under the age of 1, where they start drinking more often, so they sleep less because they're trying to build up, get more food, get more energy to go through this growth spurt, the sudden jump with 1 centimeters or 2 centimeters in length. So sleep regression doesn't have anything to do with nightmares or night terrors, even though a lot of times parents connect the two with each other. They view sleep regression that maybe my baby is having a nightmare. That is not it. Your child is just going through a developmental phase. This soon will be over. Sometimes that soon be over can take a month or 6, but they will get out of it. And the thing is, when they're through a sleep regression process, and you actually, if you watch the video linked up here, if you watch the video when we talk about sleep routines or sleep training, you will see that there might be a change in sleeping and their sleep patterns. Unfortunately, we as a family or as parents are going to keep on trying to adapt or have to adapt to our child's sleep routine to help them grow and get the most out of sleeping or the right amount of sleep that our children needs. What is nightmares and what is night terrors? So often we have parents that say, my child woke up in the middle of the night screaming bloody murder. I'm sure they were awake, their eyes were wide open, but they did not want to calm down, and then the screaming stopped and they fell asleep again. Night terrors, that horrific gut-wrenching yell and scream. Scientists have still not figured out why it happens or what triggers it, but it's a specific phase that kids go through around about anything from the age of 2, where they just wake up in the middle of the night, scream their heads off and turn around and sleep further. And that scream their heads off can carry on anything from minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours. It literally depends on how stuck they are in that dream. It is a dream or it's a dream state that they're in. So even though their eyes are open, they are not awake. What helps is to hold them, to whisper to them that you're there, that they're safe, even though they are screaming. I know it is completely gut-wrenching for us. It's anxiety-inducing for us as parents. But if your child is in the age range from about 2 years to about 5 years, expect that night terrors can happen, and it's not something bad that happened to them during the day that caused this. It is a developmental thing that the scientists currently still cannot explain. So the moment we have an answer for that, I promise I will update you guys on why sleep terrors happen and if there is a way to prevent it. There is certain proof, or people have found, that if they limit screen time, if they limit over-exhaustion, so night terrors are more often when a child is overstimulated, didn't get enough sleep, those kind of things you can eliminate it to make it as few as possible, like few incidences as possible, but chances are that you're going to end up some other time with a screaming child in your arms that you can't calm down. It looks like they're wide awake and then they just fall asleep again. That is actually normal. So just take a deep breath, it's normal. When we look at nightmares, now that is a completely different process. Nightmares often only start surfacing at around about the age of 3, and that is because their brain is busy building the long-term memory bank. Before the age of 3, the brain is not really developed enough to hold long-term memories, or doesn't really make long-term memories. That is why it feels like they forgot grandma or grandpa who they haven't seen in a month. They actually did. They did forget them. But when the age of 3, nightmares starts becoming part of the brain development. There's not really much we can do to prevent it except look at what they're exposed to regarding media, the kind of stories that we share, or the kind of life experiences, if you're fortunate enough to limit traumatic life experiences to your child. But nightmares is a brain developmental state, and what happens is the brain under the age of 7 still can't differentiate between fiction and reality. So the brain at that point in time, even the fiction that they've absorbed, the brain is trying to find a spot where to put it. It is a scary incident that happened, so they will dream about it, and then they will wake up crying and having a bad dream, or the shadows, all of a sudden they get scared of the dark, because the shadows all of a sudden in their dreams become these monsters that's trying to catch them. And reality is it's their brain building neural networks to store things, find places to put things, and trying to build that pathways of figuring out where to store what kind of memory, how it interprets the world. Now at the age of 7, that separation between fiction and reality is supposed to mature. Some kids only at the age of 8, where they really can differentiate between fantasy and fiction, and then you'll see the nightmares actually become less, and they are more capable of dealing with instances that were bad. Doesn't mean that nightmares go away completely. Come on, we as adults have nightmares. We often, when we go through stressful periods, obviously our nightmares increase. With our kids, just keep an eye on it. If it is a consistent thing of weeks on end of constant nightmares, then there is either something in their screen or their screen diet, things that they take in on screen time, or in their day-to-day that is got a negative impact on them, and that is how their brain is processing it, and their brain is still struggling to process it, and their bodies are still struggling to process it. Obviously, once again, the same with night terrors, the same with nightmares. When we have a overtired kid, a child, especially when they start dropping the afternoon nap, they sometimes get overtired, it increases the chances of a child having nightmares. So that process will happen. Obviously, if there's a trauma event, please make sure that your child get counseling. And if your child's nightmares continues for two weeks or longer, consistently every night having nightmares, please do go consult a mental health care provider like a play therapist. Get your child the right support, and also go check what's going on in and around the house, the kind of environments that they're being exposed to. Also check if they're actually getting enough sleep. And that is where I'm going to end today's conversation. Hit that like button, it really helps out this channel. If you want to continue a one-on-one personal parenting coach in your pocket kind of journey with me as your coach, the C3 Parenting Club, there is a link below in the description. Join the club, come join the conversation, and we look forward to journeying with you. Guys, please stay safe, wash your hands, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.